our research question was, is sexual democracy the basis for citizenship? I would like to start by defining what sexual democracy is, which is when a government and society instill values of sexual freedom and equality between the sexes in their society. And I would like to argue that sexual democracy is necessary for citizenship. As Chin explains, this kind of societal structure of acceptance has become one of, if not the most important values in modern society. My first point that I would like to make can be articulated as sexual democracy works to safeguard individual liberties for everyone in the society, regardless of sexuality or gender. One example of this is in one of the videos that we watched, Hannah Youssef, who is a Muslim woman from England, explained why she wore a hijab, which was for feminist rights. And she emphasized that for whatever reason a woman decides to wear a hijab, whether it be religious, for feminism, for sexuality, it's having a choice that is the important part of the decision. So this emphasizes the equality between the sexes because Hannah emphasizes that a woman should not be oppressed by neither the men in her culture to cover up by wearing a hijab, nor the people who are trying to liberate her by getting her to not wear the hijab in an attempt to assimilate Muslim women into other societies, hence this pseudo-feminism argument. We also watched a short film called Submission, in which a Muslim woman recounts her discrimination and oppression in her own life, and she says, "Submission to you feels like self-betrayal," which is a very important point because people who are oppressed are forced to submit in order to avoid serious repercussions such as sexual, mental, physical abuse. And once they are forced to submit, they are no longer free, and then hence they are no longer a citizen, rather a slave to the people that they are being oppressed by. Finally, in another TED Talk that we watched titled Origins of Sexual Freedoms, Farmers Dabwala gives an account on the development of sexual freedom in Western culture. And when addressing what he calls the first sexual revolution, he states that a major development is that human nature was recognized as being able to use reason to decide between right and wrong, which brings me to my second point, that humans have the capacity to decide for themselves. Now, this emphasis on individual liberties by choice once again denounces the previous notions of sexual discipline and sexual control, and instead creates a more open and autonomous society in which people can better practice free will. A case study of this is in the Netherlands Citizenship Integration Program. They require immigrants to watch this film called Coming to the Netherlands, which is supposed to illustrate Dutch ideals and Dutch customs. However, it does include explicitly sexual images, which is meant to ensure that the immigrant will be tolerant and accepting of these, what they call sexually modern values, which in turn this creates a more positive, a more accepting, a more inclusive and diverse society. One counter-argument that can be made against this is that it can be a very divisive tool used by politicians for justification of exclusion, which is illustrated in this quote: "National identity is about them as much as about us. Our women are free, theirs are not," which really emphasizes the division between us and them and can create barriers between people and a culture and society. However, I would argue that this is not true sexual democracy. This is a manipulation of sexual democracy used by officials and politicians for political advantage and to advance their own motives. In conclusion, I believe that sexual democracy is necessary for citizenship because it, one, emphasizes individual liberties, which creates a free society. Two, emphasizes the human's capacity for reason, which creates a more autonomous society. And when used correctly, it creates more accepting and diverse society and country. Thank you.